Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here at Korea. I think we can just get right into it here. We had the Super Bowl obviously on Sunday. A very exciting and somewhat controversial game. But I mean, kind of looking back is probably the most fun to watch. As a fan, between the two offenses, the play calling, big plays, everywhere. The first half, obviously the Eagles controlled it up by 10 points to halftime. The last possession of the half for the Chiefs, it looked like Mahomes re-aggravated his ankle. Then you have the half-hour halftime, and who knows what went on back in the Chiefs locker room with Mahomes and his ankle and how they took care of that and everything. But he came out, they drove down right away, scored a touchdown to bring it within 3 points for Kansas City. They hold Philly to the field goal to be on 6, and then they scored the 2 touchdowns to go up. The Eagles tie it, and then Jalen Hurts touchdown and 2-point conversion. And then you had the, controversial holding, non-hold on Bradbury against Juju that allowed the Chiefs to ice the clock or bring the clock down to 5-10 seconds left, and that was the game. Korea, what was kind of your takeaways from the game, kind of for both teams and how that all went down?
Yeah, you see, everyone's going to remember this game as a classic. Comes out, Eagles get the ball first. Jalen Hurts, they drive down the field. They only take 5 minutes off the clock. They drive down, they score. And then, right after that, Mahomes says, whatever you can do, I can do better. They score in about 3 minutes. He finds Kelsey for the 18-yard pass. And, everyone's thinking that, it's going to be a high-scoring game. And that's what it was. It was a high-scoring game. And, then the Eagles got to that big halftime lead up 24-14. You mentioned Mahomes re-aggravated that ankle. And, everyone's like, oh, no, is Chad Henne going to have to warm up and play? Everyone was questioning, what was really going on in that locker room down for Kansas City. And I don't know what injections they put in Mahomes, because Mahomes in the second half, he was the complete opposite of what he was. He led that first drive all the way down. He finds Tony for the 5-yard touchdown. And that was Pacheco for the 1-yard run. And now it's a 3-point game. And, the Eagles offense slowly kind of starts to stall out. The pass rush is getting, to Jalen Hurts and that offense. And then, the fourth quarter comes and, they have that big touchdown to Tony. Now they have the lead. And, I feel like the momentum swung as soon as the second half started. Obviously, in terms of my picks, everything was right until Travis Kelsey decided to not have 2 more catches, which, that's just how it happens. But, this is definitely a memorable game for about 58 minutes. And then an unfortunate call happened. And, look, you can't blame James Bradbury. He admitted that he did hold him. But, in terms of, that play on that drive, most referees don't call that. And, he even said, he thought he got away with it because most refs don't call that. But, I just hate that call, especially on the biggest stage. Obviously, you can see in the replays that it was holding. So either way, the Chiefs would have been complaining on that call, but the Eagles are complaining on that call. And, it's the game. That's how the game goes. And then, earlier in the game, there was an egregious, missed pass interference call from Juju where his hand was behind his back. I believe it was Bradbury again on him, holding him again, and missed him for the slant pass. So, it's not like this one call changed the game. There were many calls throughout that game that, could have gone either way. But, you just hate to see, a team win like that, but a win is a win. The Chiefs, proved again, why they are one of the best teams, even when you count them out. I said to myself, I don't want to bet against Mahomes because, he proved me right. I feel like this Chiefs team, is definitely one of the better teams. I feel like they finally have developed a run game in Isaiah Pacheco after, their experiments with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It'll definitely be interesting to see what this Chiefs do, what this Chiefs team does in the offseason to, maybe build around Kelsey in terms of the receivers, because yes, they have Juju, but that was a 1-year deal, and who knows when he's going to come back. And same for Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and they traded for Tony, but is that really enough? There's not really like a Tyreek Hill to complement a Travis Kelsey, and I feel like they need to find that. We'll see whether that happens in free agency. But congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. They definitely, they played the better second half. Andy Reid played the better second half, and the new head coach for the Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon, the former defensive coordinator for the Eagles. I mean, he looked like he didn't know what to do in the second half. He didn't know how to. I mean, it was we got to see the ring around the rosy one more time, and so it's just Andy Reid going deep into his bag of tricks, and this is an Andy Reid masterclass. This is one of the storylines coming in. Andy Reid coaching his former team, and for the first half, it looked like Nick Sirianni was doing a pretty good job of limiting Mahomes outside, and Gannon as well. Limiting Mahomes' ability to get outside, or trying to see how good that ankle is. And, then he gets injured and everyone's like, oh, well, I guess it's time for Chad Henne. And, it didn't really have to happen. And, I feel like leaning on that run game for a little bit was kind of a reason why. And then, Kadarius Toney, when they were up by 1, had that huge return, set him up inside the 10. That's just a special teams error. Like Kadarius Toney, he loves to break tackles, and his ability to just make you miss is unbelievable. So credit all the world to the Eagles. They had a great season. And Jalen Hurts, obviously, he had a fantastic game. He ran for 3, threw for 1. I knew he was definitely going to get involved, and he was the main offensive focal point. When they tied it up again at 35, he was the one who ran it in after that big completion to Devontae Smith downfield. He was the one who ran it in for both the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. And so he was the offense. And then, the defense just kind of let them down. And, we were thinking here, what if Jalen Hurts, he had time, but it wasn't a significant amount of time. And that throw looked already way too short. So, maybe the question carries, what if that game went into overtime? What if referees didn't call that? So many questions, but you just hate to see a game end like that. But I will definitely say for 56 minutes, that was one of the better games I got to see in terms of the Super Bowl. Definitely a top Super Bowl that I can remember after compared to last year's as well. That was a great one. But compared to the last time the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl, they got mollywopped by the Buccaneers. So it was definitely great to see, a good competitive, high-scoring, back-and-forth game throughout most of the first half, and along with the Chiefs' second half comeback in the third quarter. I will definitely say that I liked how they used Isaiah Pacheco. I liked how they gave him a lot of carries. 15 carries, 76 yards. He got in the end zone as well. I feel like he has kind of emerged as that lead back in the backfield, and McKinnon, more of the passing down back. That kind of 1-2 combo that the Chiefs have used. Really, really successful this year again. Look, I feel like, the Eagles, there is a little bit of concern there. Obviously, now losing both their offensive and defensive coordinator just days after they lost a heartbreaking game where they had a halftime lead, and the questions are, where do you go from there if you're Philadelphia? And many offseason questions will happen in terms of Jason Kelsey, who is getting up there in age, along with Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, all those main guys who have been in that Philly for that Philly franchise for a while. Questions on whether or not they're going to stay, go, who knows? But definitely a great game. Excuse me. It sucks that it ended that way, but shout out to, we got to see Nick Bolton, the Mizzou guy, have that fumble return. I feel like that kind of changed the momentum a little bit, because at that point it looked like the Eagles could have gone up 21-7, and then all of a sudden it was a 14-point swing tie ball game. all of a sudden because it was just Jalen Hurts dropping the ball. It wasn't like it was a missed handoff or anything. So, you can point to that. You can point to, the Chiefs scoring on the first touchdown drive of the second half and then pretty much scoring on every drive after that. So, not really any adjustment for Jonathan Gannon, the former defensive coordinator for the Eagles. And look, their defense in second half got cooked. I'm sorry. I mean, the Chiefs absolutely torched them. Mahomes put up a masterpiece once again. 21 to 27, 182. He didn't have to throw the ball that much, and he did just enough. 3 passing touchdowns. He found Kelsey. We knew he was going to find Kelsey sometime. A lot of Juju Smith-Schuster involved as well, just because James Bradbury was just, I guess, either getting beat or just not playing that great of defense, and he took all the blame for it, and I hope he recovers. But I mean, Jalen Hurts had a fantastic game as well. He threw for over 300 yards. A lot of people were saying that he wasn't going to throw for that much just because of what the recent trends have been for this Eagles team. But that's the thing. The Eagles love to throw the ball deep, and we saw that twice. We saw that deep ball to Devontae Smith, where he almost went into the end zone but stepped out right at the one, and then the 45-yard touchdown to A.J. Brown to start the second quarter, which was an absolute beauty. We got to see Goddard involved a lot as well. And, it just paints the question, right? What could have happened if, the Eagles would have scored on one of the possessions or, vice versa. But, this definitely was a great game. Now we head into the offseason. The Chiefs, look, I feel like the Chiefs are a dynasty at this point. I feel like if you don't call them a dynasty, then what do you really call them? I mean, they've won the AFC West for 5 straight years. They've hosted the AFC Championship game for 5 straight years. They have made 3 Super Bowl appearances, have won twice in the last 5 years. I mean, Mahomes, they paid that man over $500 million for a reason because he is that dude and he brings that much to that team. And, everyone's saying that he's definitely a top 5 quarterback of all time. And, it's definitely reasonable. I mean, he literally was on one ankle for, I would say, most of the first half, and then he got injured. So he was really on one foot, went into halftime, came out, was still hobbling a little bit after that big run, but still, for maybe 1 3/4 of a leg, and he still beat one of the better secondaries in the football. You just can't make that up. So Mahomes, I feel like the picture is going to be right on Mahomes' back for the AFC. So congratulations to him. And now that paints the question: what does the NFC look like next year? Because now the Eagles came so close but failed, and the NFC is looking not as dominant as the AFC in terms of teams. Because obviously Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be leaving the conference. We'll see. Derek Carr, I mean, he may move to the NFC after just being released not even 5 minutes ago. So, there's a bunch of questions now that we have entered the official offseason. But, I definitely thought it was a great game. I loved just the fact that, it was very competitive, very high scoring. A little bit of a sadness that my parlay didn't cash. So close. But, that's just how sports betting is. But, now we get into the offseason. We already have some big moves, obviously. The offensive coordinator for the Eagles, Shane, I don't know his last name. He's now the head coach of the Colts. And, the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, who's now the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. So, just some offseason moves to get it going. But,
yeah, we'll get into all those, another episode. But
we'll get into those soon. But, yeah, fun Super Bowl. I loved the fact that it was high scoring. I love those kind of Super Bowls. The Super Bowls where, back and forth, it really shows that these are the 2 best teams. And record wise, these were the 2 best teams in the league. I mean, you had number 1 seed out of the East, out of the AFC, number 1 seed out of the NFC. It was a great game. Eagles just came up short, a little sad, but Mahomes always gonna Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, with that holding call, if it wasn't called, there's going to be Chiefs players and fans complaining. So there's no true win-win in that situation. The bottom line is the Chiefs scored every possession in the second half, and yeah, the Eagles they didn't sack Mahomes once. They hardly even had any like quarterback hits on him in that whole game, even with him not being fully healthy. Even though on that 30-yard run that he had late, it looked like he looked a little bit hampered, but not to an extreme degree to where he couldn't move around. So um, I was talking last week that I didn't, or not, or last week that I didn't want to bet against Mahomes, and that's why I took Kansas City, and he showed why he's the best quarterback in the league. Even obviously Kelsey's the best tight end in the league, but they had no elite receiver, and Mahomes just makes everyone better around him. Like you said, Juju's on a 1-year deal, and I think MVS might be a free agent. I'm not completely sure, but no matter who they bring in at receiver, Mahomes just makes everyone better around him, and so they don't need. In a way, losing Tyreek Hill obviously hurt, but it allowed Mahomes to spread the ball around more and not kind of force the ball more to one or two receivers like what happened in previous years. And obviously, they were still a great team even doing so, but they are even more efficient and even more not explosive, but more efficient with Mahomes spreading the ball around to throughout the year to Kelsey, Juju, some of the running backs, McKinnon. Sky Moore got involved a little bit at times in the season. I mean, I think what was most impressive was the play calling by Andy Reid. You saw the two wide open touchdowns they had to. It was the Tony and Sky Moore. Like the play right before those two touchdowns was Reid seeing what the defense was showing on those motions, and so he was seeing like where the corners are going. And I think it was the Tony touchdown. I believe it was Slay that was like following Tony across the line, and he ended up going to Kelsey like in the slot or kind of next to Tony, and then Tony obviously with his speed just put his foot in the ground, turned back, and he was wide open. And then the Sky Moore touchdown was also big because that was after the Tony punt return, and the first and second down they went nowhere, and you obviously wanted to get a touchdown after that big Tony return, and Moore goes fakes inside and then goes back out, and he's wide open, easily. So I think obviously Mahomes was great, and obviously you can argue he's the reason why they won, but also I think the play calling by Reid was also a huge reason of why they were so successful in that second half and the adjustments. And like you said, the adjustments just weren't there for the Eagles in the second half like they were for Kansas City, and that was arguably the biggest difference in the game. I mean, I think as a neutral fan watching the game, I think a lot of people want the Eagles to have that like minute 40, minute 30 down by 3 to at least try to tie it. Obviously, there's no guarantee they would have tied it. We don't know, obviously, but just wanted them to give them that chance. But, what happened. And I think if Bradbury's saying he held him, you can't say that he didn't hold him when the cornerback himself is saying it happened. So, so that's that. So now, like you said, we head into the off season. A lot of different movement. Like you said, Derek Carr was just released. He told the team that he didn't want to be traded, which makes sense. He doesn't want them to have all the leverage. He wants to make his choices. So we're about a week or two away from teams being able to place franchise tags on players. And then we're roughly a month or so away from the start of the new year when free agency begins in the NFL. And so obviously we'll have episodes in the future on all of those free agency, franchise tag, trades, and everything. So that was all I had, Craig. Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up?
No, I mean, I was just want to talk about, unfortunately, a great game for 58 minutes and the last 2 minutes, unfortunately, with that holding. But as you said, Chiefs fans would have been, irate if that call wasn't made. And, if all the Eagles players are pretty much owning up to it. And, after even Bradbury, the guy who held him, own up to it, that's just how it is. But, we had a great game. And you mentioned, we have deadlines right around the corner. Franchise tag, that's about a week. And then, it's going to be flying fast. And a month from now, beginning of free agency, we'll see what quarterbacks are going where. Obviously, the main one, Derek Carr, just released literally minutes ago, and there's been a lot of speculation at first that he was going to get traded after he got benched for Jared Stidham earlier later in the regular season, and then now it's Derek Carr doesn't even want to give this team leverage, so it's just interesting. We'll see where Derek Carr goes. My prediction is going to be Indy, but I've heard the Saints and potentially the Jets linked to him, and we'll have more of those news. We'll have more of that coming out, as soon as the news comes out. It was a fun season. I definitely say this 2022-2023 season was definitely very memorable. There were so many fun moments, whether it's the Seahawks overcoming the odds, this Niners team with mystery relevant, or the unfortunate situation of DeMar Hamlin, or just all the ups and downs. It was a really fun 2022 season, and we're already ready for next year, so I'm ready for that 2023 season. But now obviously, since the end of the 2022 season has wrapped up, we're going to be switching our content, not too much, but just focusing on what's happening right now. So in future episodes this week, we're going to get ready for the All-Star break for the NBA. All-Star weekend is right around the corner, and we'll also be talking about college basketball, because in about literally a month from now, Selection Sunday, and that's going to be one of the biggest days of the year in terms of finding out who makes the field and where they're seated and all that stuff. So don't expect anything too crazy, but just a little bit of a shift as the NFL season starts to die down, and basketball becomes the main focus. And then obviously the WBC, as we get closer to that, the rosters, just got released last week. So now we know what every team who will be representing every team for the countries that they represent. And it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. But that's all I really had. And yeah, thank you guys for once again just supporting us. We're just hanging out. We are two former college students who just want to talk about sports, and that's our passion. We thank you guys for all the support and everything. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll pass it back over to Ari, but just want to let you guys know that even though we will be switching our content a little bit, that we're still going to be focusing on football, as the news comes into the full front.
Yeah, for sure. Like Korea said, we'll just kind of not really switching, just kind of adding more content to the sports that are going on. But we're still, I feel like NFL is kind of the offseason that has the most, the quickest turnaround, kind of, because you have the championship, and then literally right in the same month you have legitimate news like the franchise tag, and you normally have some trades that go on in February, and then within a month after the championship you have free agency right away, draft in April, and then right after that you have mini camp, training camp, and all that. So we'll be talking about more sports like MLB, NBA, and college basketball, while still covering the latest NFL topics as they come around. And we'll probably do a kind of like a free agency preview kind of at the beginning of March as well, kind of predicting where we think players will go based off rumors and fits, as well as going over trades and all that. So I think that will do it for this episode. We'll see you all next time, where we'll be going over college basketball, NBA, latest NBA All-Star break, and all that. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next time.